Okay, will the NRL expand to 18 teams? The answer is yes. It's just a question of when and where. Now, obviously, the Dolphins are going to enter the competition in 2023. That means there's another team in the southeast of Queensland, alongside the Broncos and the Gold Coast Titans. And of course, you've got the North Queensland Cowboys all on their lonesome up at the top of Queensland in Townsville. So, in that case, where would you put a team? And when would you allow this 18th team expansion to take place? Now, when the Dolphins were awarded their licence, Andrew Abdo made hints at around 2025, 2026. So it's a few years down the track, 4 or 5 years down the track, but the hints are already being dropped by the NRL. So where would you put that team? Where would you put it? You've got to look at the options. Now, we've seen how Queensland supported the NRL this season when the lockdowns in Sydney were brought in. Could you hypothetically put a team in Rockhampton, for example? Could it work? Could you have another team in Brisbane? Could that work? Because Brisbane is Broncos Nation, and the other bidders for the 17th franchise were all from the Brisbane area. So, in theory, you could make Brisbane more than a 2-team city. Absolutely, there's an opportunity there. But another team outside of Brisbane in Queensland, Rockhampton, could it work there? Is there enough fans there? Is there enough corporate money there? How will that work? It's a possibility. It's a question mark. Place your comments in the section below. What about Sydney? We've got enough teams in Sydney. That's always the party line. There's too many teams in Sydney. We have to have these mergers and joint ventures, and look how that's played out, especially for the West Tigers. There are calls to bring back Balmain. There are calls to bring back Western Suburbs. North Sydney Bears. There are people who want to see one of those 3 teams back as a standalone team in the NRL. It's possible, but Sydney's a very congested market when it comes to the NRL, and you are splitting up the corporate money where you can get sponsors and financial backing, and that makes it a bit more interesting as well when you are competing for that market share in a very congested market. So where else do you look? Well, we've got a team in Melbourne, and would another team in Victoria work? Probably not. If that is AFL country now. You are really going into the AFL heartlands if you're going into Melbourne. But the AFL have done the same thing by going into rugby league heartlands and actually having pretty stable franchises in those heartlands. Then you've got to look across the Tasman Strait to New Zealand. Now, the Warriors haven't played in New Zealand for a couple of years because of COVID, and so that puts a question mark on actually having a second New Zealand team with the travel restrictions that are currently in place and logistics. But a team on the South Island, another team in Auckland or Wellington, rugby league and rugby union, it doesn't matter what code it is. Rugby is a religion in New Zealand. You know you're going to pack out that stadium. It's just where you put that team. So a team on the South Island is a logical possibility. And then you've got to look at Adelaide and Perth. The NRL has been here before. After the Super League war, when the team was at 20, when the league was at 20 teams, we had a team in Perth and we had a team in Adelaide. The reasons why they didn't work, the league didn't have a lot of money at the time. There was a lot of economics behind it, and the mantra was, under the TV agreement, to contract the league down. We had to find a way to kill off some teams. Hence why we got joint venture clubs like St George Illawarra and the West Tigers. And you can argue the success and failures of those joint venture clubs to your heart's content. So would Perth work? Perth is a rapidly growing city. There's a lot of corporate money there. When games have been taken on the road in the past, be it state of origin or regular season games, crowd numbers have been good. They have ready facilities there. Western Australia does play rugby league, so it could work in Perth. Adelaide, it'll be an interesting one if they try it, but again, state of origin, crowd numbers have been very, very good. So Adelaide is a possible option as well to where the league expands. But it's most likely going to be when they enter an 18th team, it's going to be either back in Queensland or back in New South Wales, with a highly likely third option of another team in New Zealand, depending on travel restrictions, economics, and of course what's happening with COVID and what happens with the Warriors. Do the Warriors end up staying permanently in New South Wales, or do they go back to Auckland to play their home games eventually with the TV deal that has been signed with Sky New Zealand? So the TV deal does have a big bearing on this, but having an odd team league means every team gets 2 bye rounds per season, which is not great. So you just have the same amount of games per season on a match day weekend. if you have 18 teams, you have that extra round of fixtures, that extra game on a weekend, so the TV money will go up. So 18 teams is logical. It's a question of when and where. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.